influence. The CPI model has 6 basic steps to it, okay? First one is state control. Second one is rapport. Third one, language. Fourth one, state management. Five, process. 6, criteria. Oops, I inverted my letters. Huh? Criteria and values. Now, if I had time and a marker that actually would write on a flip chart, which I don't, that I hope anyway. This is dry erase, okay. This is an algorithm that you follow. This is the Universal Persuasion Protocol. This methodology will work anytime, anywhere, in any environment for any reason. The first thing you do before you, first of all, there's a +1 to this, which we'll call that A, outcome. Before you enter any type of persuasion or influence environment or context, you must know your outcome. You must know exactly what it is you want to accomplish and how you know you're going to get there, okay? It doesn't have to be complicated. Like NLP likes to say, the keys to an achievable outcome. It has to be sensory-based, fuck that, right? Just know what you want to accomplish and how you know you're getting it, okay? Sometimes that's just knowing you want to make a friend. Sometimes it's just having somebody sign a contract. Sometimes that's just getting somebody to like you, right? It doesn't matter what the outcome is, whether it's a very small piece or a more global tactical strategy that you're employing. You got to know where you're going. You got to know where you're going. Because when we start doing languaging, we start working on installing these language patterns powerfully into your unconscious mind so that you can use them anytime you want, rapidly and automatically for every reason you can conceive of, you'll understand tactically how they're used, and you'll be able to redirect and maneuver within that languaging naturally. Kind of like I did now. Come out of trance. Okay? When you start speaking in the hypnotic language patterns that I use, people will automatically go into trance. You can't use these language patterns without affecting the core neurology of the person listening to them. Understand what I just said? You cannot use the specific language patterns that I'm going to teach you without affecting the core neurology of the person listening to them. You see, the problem that we have, and I'll go back to this algorithm in a minute, the problem that we have with the way most of us are taught hypnotic language is we're taught it wrong. What? But that can't be true. Yeah, it is. It's not that the patterns don't work. It's that we don't know, they don't tell us which ones to use when. NLP, last I looked, had 31 different language patterns in the Milton model. How many people here are trained in NLP? There we go, okay. How many people are trained in Ericksonian hypnosis? Right? Which language patterns do you use when? Which ones are more important or more powerful than the others? I don't know. That's right. Because however, in the world according to David, because I'm not that smart, I have to simplify shit. Shit being a technical term. Specialized hypnotic influence techniques. Right? I had to figure this shit out. There are key language patterns that have a primacy in the neurology. In other words, they're higher up on the ability to exert influence than others. But just like our neurology is simultaneously literal, metaphorical, hierarchical, and archetypal, certain language patterns are at a higher level than others within our neurology. There's a pecking order. The most powerful language patterns are the ones that form the building blocks of your internal subjective experience. In other words, the building blocks of your thoughts. And that's what you're going to learn today. The best part is you don't have to learn them. You already know them. You've been using them your entire life. You've just not been using them as well as you could be. You've been using them at random and by default. Sometimes they work for you, sometimes they work against you, and with just a few tweaks, you will up your hypnotic power by orders of magnitude if you follow the protocol. Can we follow the protocol?
Yes.
First thing I need to understand is this is completely ethical. This is not about lying, manipulating, or cheating with people. Okay? This is one of the most powerful, cool ways to play with this. And you have a whole city waiting to be played with. Okay? The first thing you want to do, and we covered this yesterday when we were talking about the Speed Attraction 2.0 formula, which is the 3 magic questions protocol. By the way, for those of you who don't have any training in hypnotic language, if you were at yesterday's workshop and you understood echo technique, you already have hypnotic language. That is the most hypnotic language, the most powerful hypnotic language pattern you can use anytime, anywhere. Because when you use somebody's very own words, they can't not pay attention. You understand that? They can't ignore you when you use their words. It's like when you're in a crowded room with people, somebody says your name, you're like, huh? Right? Even though they're not talking to you, you're attenuated, you're sensitized to that languaging. So when you're paying attention to somebody, use their words as often as possible. When you're doing your intakes for your clients, the most powerful suggestions you can give to the client are the ones that just came out of their mouth when they described their problem. When you ask them what they want instead or what they want in place of it, those are the suggestions that are going to resonate the most powerfully with them. You do not need to be creative. If you start there, you're already miles ahead of everybody else. I'm a competitive motherfucker, so I like to be there. You may have noticed that about me. I'm very humble and shy and retiring. Not. Anyway. So, repeat after me. Control your state. Get rapport. Use your language. Manage their state. Jump into their process. Target their criteria and values. Control your state. Get rapport. Use your language. Manage their state. Jump into their process. Last one. Target their criteria and values. One more time with feeling. Control your state. Get rapport. Use your language. Manage their state. Jump into their process. You target their criteria and values. That's called forced mind reading, by the way. Give yourselves a big round of applause. You've just become masters of conversational and covert hypnosis. Great for writing sales copy too, by the way. Great for doing affirmations as well. Now, the cool thing about, now this all presupposes you know what the fuck you want. Because if you don't know what you want, you can't even get started. Right? So, first thing I want to do is I want to just revisit state control a little bit, if I could. Would that be all right? Okay. Everybody stand up. Give me 2 minutes on the timer. Assume the position. While we're doing this, I want you to remember a time in your life when you saw something you wanted and you realized on a lust factor it was a 20 on a 10 scale. Now, if your arms get tired or you want to use something different, you can put your hands on your hips like Wonder Woman. Right? But I like this one. Now, you do this for at least 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, your testosterone is going to spike by about 20%. Your cortisol is going to drop by about 40 or 20% as well, maybe even up to 40%. You're going to be simultaneously more assertive, more confident, and a hell of a lot more relaxed. Right? Now, while you're doing this, I want you to remember a time in your life when you saw something you wanted. I mean, I really wanted, like on a lust factor 20 on a 10 scale. I want you to remember it has to be something that when you saw it, you knew you were going to go get after it no matter what. You made a plan, you put that plan into action, and you nailed it. Home run, baby. I want you to see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt, smell and taste what you smell and you taste, and let those feelings come back. Full tilt boogie, baby. That's right. Notice there's a place in your body where those wonderful feelings start, where they grow, Where they spread from. I'm not going to ask you to point to where you feel it, just become aware of where you notice it. And also, as you look inside, notice there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to those feelings. What colors would those be for you, first impression? That's right. Now imagine a big-ass ball of that energy floating above your head. And notice how the feelings in your body shift and change as with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. That ball of energy begins to grow, it begins to expand, to fill the room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of awesome, unstoppable, relentless success power. And then breathe that energy through your entire body. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle. Like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon, anchor it in so fully, so completely, no power in the universe can turn it off, not even you. And when you know it's so strong, so powerful, no force in the universe can turn it off, not even you, try to turn it off and notice what happens instead. Excellent. Drop your hands, give yourselves a big round of applause. Boom! Now we're ready to rock and roll. Yeah. Have a seat. All right. Couple of things. First and foremost, your bailout, your get out of jail free card, whenever your state goes to shit, and it will, because one of the most powerful factors you're going to have to deal with is your environment. And your environment can overwhelm your critical faculty. It can increase the level of neurological arousal in your body so intensely that your conscious mind checks out completely. Okay? As one of my by proxy mentors, Dr. John Latourette, used to say, when the shit hits the fan or the fecal matter hits the rotating oscillator, your butt puckers up and your brains drop out. Right? You lose your willpower. You lose the ability to control your state as an act of will. So unless you are a special forces soldier or an elite athlete or someone or a first responder where you're trained to keep your wits about you in high stress environments, the moment the environment changes, your state will shift. And you will lose the cognitive ability to control it. However, there's a better way that works better for most of us. Even the elite use this. It's your body. For every psycho-emotional state you have, there is a corresponding posture and breathing pattern that it correlates to. So I may not be able to always, as an act of will myself to be happy. But if I know what the posture of happiness is, and I step into that posture, and I hold it for at least 2 minutes, guess what happens? Your state breaks and it goes into happiness. Now, we don't have time because we got a late start. We don't have time to do the drills we did yesterday. How many did those drills yesterday? Okay, you see these people? I want you to accost them after the training and ask them to show you just how bulletproof that actually is. Yes, sir. Oh, you forgot to take your hand down, right? Simon Says, motherfucker. All right?
I was hoping you didn't call him.
Right? I apologize for the quality of my voice. I blame Sophia, wherever she is. But I love her to death, but she lost her voice last night. I think she tried to give it to me. This is the Universal Persuasion Protocol. I don't care if it's the therapy room, the seminar room, the treatment room, the boardroom, the courtroom, or the bedroom. This works everywhere. And when you're really good at it, especially this part, and this, you don't need this. 80% of your persuasion is done before you open your fucking mouth. Okay? Now it sounds a little esoteric. It's not. It's actually neuroscience. Okay? You have this thing called mirror neurons in your body that interpret intention. You have a proprioceptive nervous system that monitors at least 6 different types of information, one of which is electromagnetic fields. It monitors interoception, mechanoreception, nociception, exteroception. These are all different channels of energy, different channels of information. They correlate, or they interact with your mirror neurons to form your intuition, your empathic ability to communicate. Okay? And there's a grid around you that is storing a lot of this information vibrationally that you're interacting with. That's why people move their hands all the time when they talk. These aren't random things. These hands are literally moving to file cabinets where certain categories of information are stored. Okay, we played with that yesterday. Okay, we'll be playing more with the body language components tomorrow. So, and we'll also be giving away another package tomorrow. So, for those of you who might want to get more training for free, you might want to show up. Just an idea, right? But whenever we don't know what to do, we walk into a situation, oh shit, what do I do? What do I want? Outcome. Control my state. Get rapport. Use whatever language techniques you know. If all you know is echo, that's good enough. Believe me, you'll become the most fascinating person in the room with those 3 steps. Those 3 steps, they won't be able to stop paying attention. Okay? It shouldn't be that freaking easy, but it is. It's called the echo technique for those of you who weren't in the class yesterday. I have a bunch of videos on YouTube that I teach this. So when in doubt, echo it out. All right? Now, for those of you who went to yesterday's class, besides echo, you also had 3 magic questions. And when you get the handouts for the extension, you also have 36 magic bullets. Which are the intimate, I call it the intimacy intensifier interview. Say that 3 times fast, right? Which is a series of questions that are scientifically proven if you use at least 9 of them to generate a tremendous feeling of connection and intimacy in a complete stranger. Okay? By itself, it's a little clunky, but when you integrate it into this flow, it becomes completely organic, and you won't get rid of these people. Okay? So only go beyond question 2 of the 3 magic questions unless you really like them. Okay? Seriously, no, I'm dead serious. Okay? I won't tell you the mistakes I have made with this stuff. Vet your subjects, aka targets, very carefully. Which is what the 3 Magic Questions protocol is, by the way. It does 2 things. It simultaneously creates a framework for organic, hypnotically engaging, intimacy-enhancing conversation, while at the same time triggering the target to automatically feel attraction towards you, while at the same time giving you a boatload of information about who they are, how they move through the world, what their belief systems are, in as little as 20 minutes. And it was designed for women to use on men, guys. It was designed to figure out, are you a loser or a keeper in the 20 minutes or less, so they can avoid 6 months of crash dieting, new wardrobes, hairdos, right? Having to tap their roommate for the bailout call, you know? Get that emergency phone call 20 minutes into the date. Oh, I gotta go, my parakeet's having an existential crisis, right? I had to tweak it for guys to use with ladies. Now it works equally well both ways, but even just then, I didn't realize what we had because I started teaching. I taught this at one of my Killer Influence trainings way back when. Where's my Killer Influence manual? Somebody steal it? It's on the chair?
Behind the black.
Oh! Yeah, this is a textbook I wrote. Well, it's not really a textbook. This is the bullet points. It's been known to stop small animals dead in their tracks. But a personal, actually 4 of them descended on my training. 4 personal injury attorneys descended on my Killer Influence training back in 2012. And none of them wanted to be on camera. And they all sat in the same corner, even though some of them didn't know each other. So vibrationally, they were connected. I called them my legal department. Right? They took the 3 magic questions into jury selection processes, deposing expert witnesses for the defense, hostile judges, and started pulling down 7-figure verdicts left and right. They were winning the cases in voir dire, which is jury selection. Before they even met the plaintiff, before they got to the courtroom, they created these powerful tribes in the jury that just voted for them. And it's a reptilian response. You see, tribes protect their own. And if a tribe vouches for you and you vouch for somebody, that tribe will stand behind you more often than not, too. It's a reptile brain response. So there's a lot of power behind what I'm teaching you, even though it originated from the seduction world. It originated from teaching women how to be more effective seducing men. Turns out, because the mating paradigm is actually the archetype for all other social interactions and relationships, if that's the outlier, then anything that falls within it is also useful for. Okay? So understand that this is really powerful, and if all you had was this, you would be the most fascinating person in the room. But we're going to go even further to the 18 most powerful words in the English language, which is really analogous to 6 categories of language. So I'd like to teach you the most powerful, besides the echo technique, I'd like to start off by teaching you the most powerful hypnotic language pattern that we have. Tina, did we hand out those cards yet? Oh, she's right. Okay, so you know what we'll do instead of handing them out and disrupting the training? If Tina or somebody could stand at the door and hand out the cards, the gifts I have for them as they go out, I'll explain that. I have to move really fast. How much time do I have? Hour and a quarter? Okay. So the first category of language that I want you to just overlearn and utilize every single place is called awareness verbs. Awareness verbs. Aware, recognize, realize, notice, comprehend, understand. These are all words in this category. Let me write them for you as quickly as I can. Aware, comprehend, recognize, understand. Notice. That's all right. We don't need a big laundry list. Okay? This is a crash course. Okay? If you just can memorize 3 of them, put them on a little note card and use them whenever you can. Now, what I'm teaching you is a category of languaging known as presupposition. Presupposition is the neurological equivalent of an assumption. They are things that your neurology must act upon as if they are true just to make sense of what you're being told. The chief among these is this one. It's the most powerful in my opinion. It's the one that is the hardest to detect, flies immediately under the radar, and will cause a person hearing it to begin to pay attention to, undergo the state, process, or experience that follows it. As you recognize the sound of my voice coming in your ears and you realize that what I'm saying has power, you may also begin to notice the sensation in the left earlobe coming into your awareness as well. As you notice that sensation in your left earlobe, even though you're trying to resist this particular languaging, you recognize how your mind moves to the right foot into your big toe. As it moves into your big toe, you may realize your awareness is now traveling to the top of your head, even though I told you it wasn't going to. Now, we're not going to go through the road. I'm going to tell you something, and I'd like you to resist it, please. Right? Now, notice I didn't use the old trick, which is don't think of a pink elephant. We're not using a negation. Okay? The awareness presupposition causes the brain to direct its attention towards whatever follows the word. It causes the mind to begin to undergo the state, process, or experience that follows it. And everything that follows it is assumed to be true. Even though it isn't many times. I don't think I can. Which part? Okay. Anything that follows the awareness presupposition, the neurology automatically acts upon as if it's true. It causes the neurology to begin whatever state, process, or experience follows the awareness category. How many people have watched my YouTube videos? Excellent. Now what I want you to do, how many people have seen my spinning technique? Go back to my YouTube videos and listen for these. It's everywhere. Right? One of the cool things about using hypnotic languaging this way is it creates spontaneous amnesia. You'll get the message but lose the verbiage. So as you naturally begin to automatically pay more attention to what I'm saying, you'll instantly recognize that I'm using these language patterns on you. And as you notice I'm using these language patterns on you and comprehending the power that they now have, you'll still startly begin to realize you can't remember what the fuck I said. Kind of works like that, right? Now I'm loading it up just so you can feel that woo-woo effect. But when you do this in normal, everyday, application-specific phrases, they become extraordinarily compelling. Within any form of sales or marketing copy, within any form of hypnotic process, when you start to pepper these words in, they go, whether they want to or not. You understand that? And the more of them you use, the faster they go. Okay? In the system I teach, you never sound vague, creepy, oblique, or confusing. You sound like you're being very, very specific while being extraordinarily hypnotically vague. This language pattern forms the core of your sentience. It is at the top of the hierarchy, so it dominates every other one. How many people here have ever heard of the NLP concept, logical levels of belief? Okay, so for those of you who don't, NLP has this idea, and you actually got it from Gregory Bateson, that you have a hierarchy to your belief system, right? The highest of which is identity. Okay? And then it goes down all the way to environment. And so what you'll have many times is in NLP is what they call a confusion of logical levels of belief. So somebody will come into your room and say, or come into your clinic and say, I'm a smoker. Right? How many of you work with smokers? Say, I'm fat, I'm a smoker. Right? I am this, I am that. We talked about identity statements yesterday, didn't we? Those of you who were in class. Remember I said we're talking about, in 3 Magic Questions, we talk about career passion. People can't talk, who you are is equivalent to what you do. People can't talk about their identity stuff without going into a profound pleasure state, even if they're telling you bad shit. They get this perverse sense of glory because they get to talk about their favorite subject themselves, right? Okay. Unless you study Robert Dilts' work, he says the transpersonal or spiritual level is above identity. That may or may not be true. But the identity level is the highest level in the hierarchy of belief systems that we have. Because of that, it controls everything below it. What you believe about your capabilities, what you believe about your environment, what you believe you deserve, what you believe is right and proper in your world. It controls and dominates all of that. When people come in, especially clinically, and they tell you, I'm a smoker, I'm fat, I am X, I am Y, what you're hearing, the I am, is what we call an identity statement. It means that that particular belief, that particular self-concept is right up here. But remember something, smoking and being fat are not identities, they're behaviors. There's something you're doing, which means they've confused something they are with something they do. Everybody put your feet flat on the floor, just play with me a little bit. Say, I do great hypnosis.
I do great hypnosis.
Notice how your body feels. Now say, I am a great hypnotist.
I am a great hypnotist.
Notice the difference in the feeling? Can you feel the distancing between I do and I am? That little shift makes all the difference. Makes a huge difference in your ability to get change or create it in yourself or others. Every time you stop thinking about who you are versus when you take something from that you are to something that you do, you can always change what you're doing. When people have a problem that's locked at this high level of identity, they will fight to keep it as much as they would fight to keep their arm. Give you a metaphor as an example. Let's say I have 2 arms. Anybody here not have 2 arms? Raise your hand. Sorry, that's politically incorrect. I apologize. But my point is, well, let's say one day you wake up and there's this growth on your arm. And then it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually it gets to the point where you finally say, I better go get this checked out. You go to the doctor. He says, it's a malignant tumor. We're going to have to amputate. Gangrene is setting in. We're going to have. Now, you may consciously recognize that the arm has to go to save your life. Are you still happy about losing the arm? Will you exhaust every single option to keep it?
Yeah.
kind of what happens when you accept a belief at the identity level. There's a part of you that belief, that condition has become so familiar with that the thought of losing it is actually kind of scary. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get them from something they are to something they do, because you can always change what you're doing. You understand that? Okay? Awareness verbs can help you do that, but not just in a therapeutic context. They can do everything. They can do it. Yes?
I just have a quick question. So basically you're talking about the smoker. It's like when you're on a phone call, usually they talk about smoking about like the second person.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you smoke or like an it. So if you frame it with an I, it's more powerful to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they come like...
If they're coming to you with the I'm a smoker, they may use the second person to describe it, but still have this. But this is a key. This is a big red flag. And you're going to hear it now that you're sensitized to it. Go out and talk to people when they talk about themselves. I am this, I am that, I'm just so. I always do this. Right? We're up here. We need to get down here. Right? And that can be as simple as reframing it. It can be just as simple as asking the right question at the right time. Right? But again, this is not an NLP class, but I wanted to give you the analog so you understand this. Awareness verbs are the single most powerful language pattern because you can't resist them even when you know they're being done. Okay? You cannot fight what you cannot perceive. Understand that? You cannot fight what you cannot perceive. So words in this category that I want you to play with: aware, comprehend, recognize, understand, notice, realize. So as you begin to become aware of the power of the awareness category, and you begin to comprehend the impact that this can have in your everyday speaking, you may naturally begin to recognize how you'll find yourself using them more strategically each and every day. And as you notice the effects that your words now have on the people growing greater and greater every single day, you'll naturally realize what a wonderful decision you made by coming to this training. Did that sound hypnotic? Yeah. But did it sound vague? Did it sound, yes?
Do the words have to be, you are aware, you understand, you realize, or can
Nope.
I say, I realize that such and such will...
It could be as simple as the awareness of the power of this category sinks in, you'll naturally find yourself realizing you've been using it all your life, but now you'll be using it more strategically. Yes?
Does it work in the negative as an unaware or misunderstanding?
It can be used that way, but you have to be more anytime you try to negate something, you have to be very, very strategic and very, very much more skilled in your use of the languaging. Because, first of all, one of the problems that we have in the hypnosis world, the Ericksonian world, the NLP world, is that there's this thing we call sexy shit. Shit, of course, being a technical term. These are the techniques that everybody thinks is cool, that everybody thinks is sexy. Embedded commands, binds, negations. Sound familiar? Right? These are the things that everybody thinks is cool, so everybody learns them first, and everybody uses, and everybody recognizes, and flags you right away as doing something, which poisons your entire persuasion message. When I tell people, I'm going to teach you the most powerful, unstoppable hypnotic language patterns in the world, and I start with this, they go, what? Because it's not sexy. That's what makes it sexy. This completely steers your thinking and the direction of your thoughts, and you never notice it. And you can't resist it even if you did. It is such a fundamental building block of your persona, of your psyche, of your neurology, that you can't function without it. Try to do something without being aware. That's right. It's the foundation of everything. Therefore, it's right here. It controls everything else. Controls everything else. It has primacy within the neurology. Does that make sense? I want you to take 3 minutes. Write down 3 sentences in the form of either an application-specific phrase that you might use with a client or out in the field, whatever application it is, or in the form of a hypnotic suggestion. Like if you were going to hypnotize somebody to be an awesome hypnotist, to use conversational hypnosis using this language pattern, what would you write? Right? It might be, I easily recognize how to use the power of the awareness pattern. Just a simple first person or first person progressive hypnotic statement, but utilize these categories of words. Just write down 2 or 3. They don't have to be long, they don't have to be complex, but they do have to be structured properly. Okay, just write them. By the way, as an aside, this pattern works on everybody hearing it simultaneously. This pattern works on everybody hearing it simultaneously. So you can use it one-on-one or in large groups like this, and everybody gets affected. Everybody in the sound of your voice or who can read your writing is affected by it. We having fun yet? All right, real quick. Who's got some? I want to just hear 1 or 2 or 3 just to make sure you're with me. Evan, you got one?
You may become aware now or later that then you're whatever you're doing.
You didn't finish. So you noticed that you didn't have an outcome? Kind of hard to generate the pattern, wasn't it?
Right.
Now think of an outcome. Generate the pattern. Notice what happens. Yes, sir. Who's right? Who is? Go ahead.
I understand and notice my hypnotic capabilities are strong and growing stronger every day.
I understand and notice my hypnotic capabilities are growing stronger and stronger every day. Does that sound vague at all? Sounds really good. It's very strong. That's a good one. Yes, ma'am.
I wonder how natural it is for you to be aware and notice the possibility that you can begin to understand how easy it is for you to speak with others comfortably.
It's hard to stop riffing, isn't it? It's hard to, it just starts to, that's my point. Once you understand, it just starts to fucking flow, right? And it sounds great. And after about the 3rd or 4th word, you go, right? Anybody notice that after like the 2nd or 3rd sentence, you started to check out? You were listening, but you weren't actually listening? That's called trance, right? When you use these patterns effectively, your ability to parse 7 plus or minus 2 drops to 3 plus or minus 2. Very good. Nice. Laszlo.
Just realize that the fact that you are here, noticing the way that those changes can happen, can create the awareness for that you can do this, you can be the change.
She's looking at it like, what just happened? Doesn't feel like you did it right, right? That's how it's right. Because there's a part of you that's going, it can't be this fucking simple. It just can't be that. It is. It's that simple. Wow. Like I said, I'm not that smart. I got to keep this shit simple. I'll never be able to do it. Right? Avoid the sexy shit. Sexy shit gets you caught. Yes, sir.
Would it work if you were to say my understanding of hypnotic ability, or do you have to say my ability to understand?
As your understanding of hypnotic language increases, you'll rapidly realize the truth and give yourself the right answer.
And does this work in the same way if it's written and someone reads it?
Doesn't matter. Written, spoken, doesn't matter. One more and then we're going to move on. Yeah, go ahead. I'll get you in a minute.
I notice your examples are pretty basic and appear easy to understand.
Excellent. Star that. Very nice. Go ahead.
As you become more and more aware of the resources within, you realize the power of your intentions and understand the positive forward motion propelling you toward your goals. And you
They just can't shut up, can they? Bravo. Big round of applause. You guys are awesome. We having fun yet? Yes. Wait, I ain't done yet, bitches. Hypno bitches. You're all my hypno bitches now. I'm going to get a t-shirt that says hypnosis is sexy.
This is hypno bitches.
Hypno, you like hypno bitches? Yes. One of my students wanted to make t-shirts that says David's bitches on the front. I don't know if we want to go that far. I'm the anti-cult. Right?
You should put www.nlppower.com.
I will take submissions for t-shirt ideas for next year. Okay? You guys like this? Is this useful?
You see that T-shirt for the 3-day.
Okay. Yes, sir.
For example, you're using some technique like a set of meaning. It's any structure.
They won't. They won't, most of the time. And even if they do, they can't help themselves with this. Now, if your content is fucking dry, there may be other reasons why they're drifting off, right? But as you become aware of the compelling power behind this languaging, you'll rapidly understand that it becomes extremely hard to pay attention anywhere else. Right? It's like right? Machine gun hypnotic suggestion. Next one is almost as powerful. Cause and effect. Now, cause and effect is based, I call it in my world, I call it the language of truth. Okay? The structure of cause and effect is X causes Y. To use this effectively, we have to talk about a piece of jargon in the NLP and hypnosis world known as pacing. Now, there is an understanding of pacing to mean that I do what a person does. We all know that idea? Who does not know what pacing means? If you do not know, if you know, raise your hands. If you don't know, raise your hands. If you're not sure if you know, raise your hands. It's an important category. All right? Wow, that is not easy to see at all, is it? Okay. Now remember, notice what I said earlier about your outcome. The moment you decide on an outcome, the phrasing and the creation of the patterns become very easy. The toughest time most people ever have with this is when they try to generate outcomeless or application generic sentences. But sometimes it's important to do because you have to understand the structure of the language as well as the dynamics of the language. Cell phones off, please. As you notice my intense desire to confiscate your cell phone, you'll rapidly decide to turn the fucker off, right? Okay, so cause and effect. Now, the cause and effect structure, each of the pieces I'm going to outline, this creates a sequential, linear relationship between two things that may or may not have absolutely no relationship to each other at all. The very fact that you're sitting in this chair listening to the sound of my voice and hearing my words explaining these patterns means you're rapidly becoming a better hypnotic operator and persuader out in the real world. And as you use that, you'll rapidly discover expanded capabilities and more rapid returns and compliance to your words when you use them. Right? How? How does you sitting here fucking cause you to do anything? How does you sitting here listening to me talk cause you to do anything?
It's kind of like
Here we go.
It's kind of like because like you have like more knowledge and more like they use like the words that you can use to make like the people do what you want to do. Like it's a learning process. Like the cause.
That makes
like,
sense, doesn't it?
Like the effect is you have more knowledge.
That, what you've just heard, is the rationalization factor kicking in.
That's right.
There is absolutely no causal relationship between anything I said, except the one you generate. Remember this. People resist what you tell them. They never resist what they conclude. So Melissa is absolutely right for her. Whatever rationalization a person generates is theirs. And if you really want to lock it in, challenge it. You ever try to use logic to convince somebody of a decision they've made? Ladies, you ever been on a date where a guy tried to logic you into the next date? Or to get you to go out at all? Didn't work real well, did it? Right? Because it's all about feelings. Cause and effect languaging creates a process we term pseudo-logic. It may be plausible, but it's not logical. And that's all the neurology really cares about. Is it plausible? Now, usually when I teach this, I use the most outrageous examples just to create enough cognitive dissonance in you to realize what your brain is doing. Okay? There's a part of me, that sadistic part of me, that really wants to do that, but we're on a time constraint, so I need to get it. And my goal, by the way, for this training, especially because we actually started a little bit late, if this is the scope of everything we could cover, we have time for this. So my commitment, as always, is to take you as far into this material as I can and show you where to go for more if you want it. Would that be fair? Okay, cool. Cause and effect has a structure. X causes Y. Your X is always something that is true. Something that is true. Something you can verify through your senses or become aware of. Yes, sir?
Objectively true or subjectively?
It can be subjectively true. As you listen to the sound of my words, you're having certain thoughts. And as you pay attention to those thoughts, it causes you to understand that it can be a subjective experience. See, the minute I say, as you're listening to my words, you're having certain thoughts, the first thing your brain does is go, well, he's speaking. Am I having thoughts? Am I having thoughts? Yes, I am. It's true. Yes?
So is this whole awareness statement just something as an initiator? Because when you do that, I go, okay, now what?
Well, we're using this in a very modular, very, very chunky way. When you start to stack them, it's impossible it gets even more powerful. But I want you to understand the dynamics of each of these on its own. So when you start, because there's no neuro-linguistic programmer on the planet who can meta-model this shit fast enough to defeat it. You will check out. I guarantee you, because I tried this on every fucking neuro-linguistic programmer I could find without them knowing it. They never caught any of it. And every now and then, if I knew someone was exceptionally sharp, I would use what I call the red herring technique. I would give them something to find and use everything else. I do sexy shit. And so they get so focused on the sexy shit, they missed everything else. Right? So we're learning right now, we're at the technical level. Right? But as you install and internalize these techniques, you'll rapidly evolve to a point where you're no longer thinking, okay, this is a thin brush, this is a thick brush, this is for that, and this is for this. You'll start be thinking, okay, this is my overall goal, this is the strategy I need to employ, these are the tactics that support that strategy, and these are the techniques that support the tactics. That's why my first program that I put out on Conversational Hypnosis was called Stealth. STEALTH. Strategic Suggestion through Emotionally Amplified Linguistically Transmitted Hypnosis. Okay? Strategic suggestion. Okay, we're still at the technical level. Right? But until you create an outcome, you have no way to create a strategy. Therefore, it's very hard to figure out what techniques to employ. You always have to begin with the end in mind. Always. Okay? Now, you can use these within the concept of a story or a metaphor, but you don't need to. In my world, I separate persuasion into presupposition, which is this, and story and metaphor. And I have whole trainings devoted to scientific storytelling and metaphor. This is what the science is telling us about stories. And it's some crazy shit, let me tell you. Okay? Only a tiny piece of which is Ericksonian based. Okay? Cause and effect, X is always a truism. We call this the language of truth. The arrow represents your pattern words. Because, causes, as, you, triggers, makes, right? Your why is always a lead. You guys need me to repeat these words for you because I know some of you can't see them. Because, causes, allows, makes, triggers. These are good enough. You can go to a thesaurus and find gazillions more. These are not the only words in these categories, right? But you only need a couple to understand the structure. Once you understand the structure, first of all, you can't speak without using cause and effect. It is a fundamental building block of your language and your thought processes. The minute you become aware of something, the next thing your brain does in terms of filters is separate what came first, what came second. That's the hierarchy. You become aware of it, find the cause, the two things come into awareness. One is causal, one is effect. See how it works? Can you see the hierarchy now? The next thing that happens is we decide what it means. Become aware, cause, effect, meaning. That's the language of belief. All of your beliefs are stated this way, but we're not there yet. Because, causes, allows, as you, triggers, makes. Everybody got these? Simple words, right? You don't need to have multisyllabic linguistic eloquence, which is one of my biggest problems with the NLP community. They confuse the concept. In NLP, we have this concept, the concept of what they call elegance, which I was taught to mean getting the most done with the least amount of steps, right? But they've lost their way. They've started to confuse elegance with eloquence. They get way too fucking wordy. The words that they use get longer and longer and longer in their attempts to sound smart, to be efficient in their language. Well, you know what? There's this asshole in the White House that proved them all wrong. And I predicted he would win. Now, I'm not a supporter by any stretch of the imagination, but I predicted a full year and a half before he took office, before anybody took him even seriously, that he would win, because I knew what he was doing. You see, you can't fire off a person's amygdala and expect them to be rational anymore. You can't shame entire populations of people and not expect pushback. And he tapped into it. We're paying for it, but it's kind of our fault. Right? We didn't know what we didn't know. Now you do. Everything human beings do, believe, think, express, is in response to a feeling. That's it. I don't care what NLP says. I'm a visual. No, you're not. You have a visual component to you. I'm an auditory. No, you're not. You have visual components. You have auditory components. You have olfactory components. Some of you stronger than others. But anyway, you have gustatory components. But they don't cook the rice. You only respond to those because of the way the visual, the auditory, the olfactory, and the gustatory make you feel. And when your feelings shift, your reality shifts. That was the crux of yesterday. That's why state control. First, the ability to control state is the ability to control reality, starting with yours and then everyone else is in the room. And you're hypnotists, you're reality technicians. That's your fucking job. And your job is not belief. Your job is not to go around making people believe you so you can help them. Your job is making people comply so you can help them. Your job is compliance. People come to you to tell you what to do. Right? Get comfortable with that. Be willing to use your power. Use it for good, starting with your good. You're a person too. You're no good to the world broke. You're no good to the world disempowered. You're no good to the world holding back your power. Start with making your life what you want it to be first. Move through the world feeling empowered, and then use your power to empower others. We got the formula wrong. Give everything to everybody else first, and then wonder why the world never gives back, right? Everybody take your finger, touch your nose. Press in a little bit. How many of you feel a little groove there? Raise your hands if you feel a little groove there. What you've got is what we call in Chinese face reading a human angel marking. You are people who feel compelled to help others. A lot. And you're always a little sad because the world never seems to give back to the degree that you give. And you're always a little sad because you realize where you came from is a little bit better than this place. And no matter how good this place is, it just ain't that. Sound familiar? Empower yourself. Treat yourself kindly. Treat yourself better than you treat your kids, because you're your first kid. And your world and everyone around you's world will change. Just an idea. Truisms. Insert your causal word. A lead is always what you want them to do. Whatever state, process, or experience, or behavior you want them to, whatever action you want them to take. Okay? So, you hear? Is it you hear? Is that how you pronounce it? You hear? Give me something that is true.
Something that is true. You are handsome.
And apparently she has very good taste. But anyway. Give me give me one of the words on your list.
Allows.
Allow. Excellent. You, sir. Give me something that you would like somebody to do or believe or experience. Okay. The fact that David is very handsome allows you to travel. Pretty cool, huh? Just fill in the blank. Right? Traveling allows you to realize how handsome David really is.
That makes more sense.
Well, again, I start off with very blocky, just fill in the blanks, and then you just streamline it. One more. Shauna, give me something that is true.
You're here.
I'm here. Excellent. Give me a word in the cause and effect category. It doesn't have to be on that list, but if it's on the list, you can use it.
Causes.
Causes, okay. Give me something to do, believe, say, experience, whatever. An induction?
Yeah.
The fact that I'm here causes you to realize you're having an induction placed upon you. See the structure? Bare bone structure, this is it. 3 words or phrases, right? Now you can dress it up. I actually threw an awareness category in there, didn't I? See how it was really flowed? It lubricates the entire process. One of the problems we have in neurolinguistics is the concept of softening. NLP and I was voted the #2 trainer in NLP this year, so thank you for that. Give yourselves a big round of applause. I appreciate that. So now everybody's pissed off at me. But one of the problems that we have, and I love NLP, I do, except I have a lot of issues with the way it's taught. And because of the over-reliance on the language and the less understanding of the mechanics underlying it. One of the problems we have in neurolinguistics is that the processes are very, very powerful. And it's obviously powerful. The problem is it's too obvious. People know something is being done, even if they don't know what it is that's being done. And so you engender in the listener what is commonly referred to as psychological reactance. Psychological reactance in the world according to David is what we call the fuck you factor. Right? Even if it's something that you know is in your best interest, if somebody's telling you to do it and you didn't ask for that advice, you go, thank you, fuck you, right? You're nice to their face, but in your mind you're going, fuck you, I'm not going to do that. You pull a Robert Downey Jr., just thank you very much for your input, and inside they're saying, I ain't going to fucking do that, right? The problem with NLP is, as powerful as it is, it also flags that something is being leveraged on you. And we don't like that. That's why NLP has and in some cases, justifiably reputation for being manipulative. Okay? Because it's powerful. But the problem is the good neurolinguistic programmers, you'll never recognize half of what they're doing because it's soft. It's smooth. It's gradual. You never feel the push. You feel the draw. You understand that? There's a subtlety to it. And the way you do that is through what we call pre-framing, which we cover in CPI, which I think the next one, well, actually CPI 3 is going to be on Sleight of Mouth, and that's in December. The next CPI class that we're teaching is in April. So if you guys are interested in that, and you get package, you might want to come out and see us, because we're going to drill you. We'll drill you on all 6 stages. I don't have time to do that here. But you get the idea, you get the structure. So I want you to do the exact same thing. Choose an outcome, use your pattern words, and either phrase them in the context of an application-specific phrasing or a bullet point you might use. If you're going to be using this in a hypnotic context, fine. If you're going to use it in a marketing context, fine. But have an outcome. Keep your structure simple. Make sure there is something that is absolutely verifiable as true on your front end. Use one of your pattern words. And then something you want them to do or experience as a result of what just came before. Got it? Let's take 5 minutes and do that. Keep it simple. It does not have to be high poetry, although most poetic language is written this way. What time is this session over, TJ? 11:50? Okay. Okay, who's got one? Shauna, hit me.
The simple fact that you are aware of the issue you are having means that you have already begun to develop a solution.
Oh, I love you. Can I read it? Can you?
Yeah, you can read that too.
Well, because I want them to hear it.
Sure.
Okay. The simple fact that you are aware of the issue you are having means that you have already begun to develop a solution. She's got my course. She stacked shit. Well done. Very nice. Anybody else want to volunteer? We're going to just do 2 or 3. I wish I could do everybody. I usually do. Yeah.
Notice with each breath you take, you recognize you can make the change you hear.
Notice with each breath you take, you can make the change. You can what?
You can make the change you hear.
You can make the change you're here for. Notice with each breath you take, you can make the change you're here for. Very nice. Give a big round of applause for that one. That was good. Big round of applause. Thank you. You, sir, in the corner, GTA man. Give me one.
I said the fact that you've already lost 20 pounds lets you recognize that losing weight is effortless and easy.
Excellent. The fact, recognize, say it again, nice and loud.
The fact that you've already lost 20 pounds helps you recognize that it's natural and easy for you to lose weight.
Yeah,
somebody in the hard work.
Perfect. The fact that you've already lost 20 pounds means or recognizes or something I hypnotically fucked myself again. But that's all right. I do that a lot. Okay? Very good. Was this hard? No. That's right. With thanks to Melissa. Anyway, right in this same family, does anybody want to volunteer one just to get feedback? Yes, sir. Nice and loud.
Yeah, noticing that thought means you're processing.
Noticing what?
Noticing that thought means you're processing inside.
Okay, you just went into the next pattern I was going to cover, which is complex equivalence. Anytime you hear the word means, you no longer have a causal relationship with something. In the complex equivalence category, we still have an X, which is a pace or something that is true. We still have a middle piece, which is our pattern word, and we still have a Y. The difference is here. Now this truism is the same as this. So being in this room listening to the sound of my voice means you're becoming better skilled at using hypnotic language. And as a result of that, you'll discover more and more that you're using this effectively in every way for every reason. How does you sit here listening to me mean you'll be anything? The answer is it doesn't. except through the plausible rationale you generate internally, which also makes it true. So when we're talking about complex equivalence, X is now the same as Y. They're both equal, right? You see these on t-shirts and bumper stickers all the time. Time is money. A day at the beach is like a bad day fishing is just as is better than a, that's not it. Right? So in this equation, the X is still true. The Y is the pattern word gives it this equivalent meaning. So learning these patterns means you're going to use them more effectively. How? How does learning these patterns mean anything about how you're going to use these patterns? You see? But you can't deny that you're learning the pattern. It's a truism, right? And so if X must be true, Y must also be true, right? This forms the foundation of a very famous induction that most of you learn in either NLP or Ericksonian hypnosis called the 5-4-3-2-1 induction. Huh? Where you start with 5 things that are true, and then 1 thing that you want them to do, then 4 things that are true, and 2 things that you want them to do, and then 3 things that are true, and 3 things that, right? Remember this? You always lose track by about the 3rd level, right? This is the foundation of that. Because, and again, in our CPI trainings, I have 2 drills that actually just drive this into your neurology. Because they can be any 5 things, and within 5 to 7 paces, the person checks out. They're gone. And they know what's happening. They know the drill. They know they're supposed to fight it. They still check out. Because there's a part of your brain that sorts for contrast and sorts for truth. And it's extremely lazy. And after 3 or 4 things that are absolutely true, it stops checking. It stops checking. This is why news commentators, even though we know they're full of shit, most of the time we still listen. Because 90% of what they do is pacing. And then they throw in an opinion here or there, and we give it the same level of veracity. Right? You want to watch them. The more paces you inject, the more truthful you are. Till the filter checks off, and then all of a sudden you can just layer it in. Now I have this sneaky thing. Yes, Shauna?
Is there a time frame that those pacings have to come in?
Well, it should be in a conversational, timely manner, but you can always have them recall the pace and restart the process, right? When you put complex equivalence, when you put this complex equivalence at the end of a cause and effect statement, you have what I call the belief formula. X causes Y means Z. All beliefs are stated this way. We see something, it triggers an effect, and we decide what it means in our world. Okay? So simply sitting here listening to the sound of my voice and understanding how these patterns go together, both individually and in a modular format, causes you to understand how to create very powerful, hypnotically compelling, neurolinguistically active languaging that automatically means people will just start listening to you and doing what you say and accepting your suggestions regardless of what they otherwise might have wanted to do. All I did was cause, effect, equivalence, cause, effect, equivalence, cause, effect, equivalence. Now here's the best thing. How many people here are familiar with the law of suggestion? Okay, who can tell me what the law of suggestion is, or the law of compliance is? Anybody? Any Kineans in the room? Any students of Jerry Kine or Omni people? None? Okay, don't be bashful. I'm a Kinean. What's the law of suggestion? Okay, that's compounding. Okay, law of suggestion says, well, actually, the law of compliance. Let's talk about that one. Law of compliance means this. It could be the law of suggestion in your world. When I give you a suggestion and you accept it, you become predisposed to accepting the next suggestion I give you. If I give you a suggestion and you reject it, you become predisposed to rejecting the next suggestion I give you. It stacks. If I give you a suggestion and you accept it, in other words, I've given you a cause, I give you the effect that you accept as true, it's now paceable. I call this cyclical pacing and leading. This is like a spiral. That's what I just used. I give you a cause, I give you the effect, you accept the effect, I tell you the meaning. The minute you accept the effect and or the meaning, it becomes subjectively verifiable. Therefore, I can use it as the next pace, and I can spiral you right off into the ozone. And
or even interject a lie within the stream that you believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're all liars anyway. We lie for a living. Well, actually, we call it reality training, right? We tell the subject lies until the client's reality changes, and now it's true. Forget that. Right? We are reality technicians. Reality is what we say. Right? Remember this. This is a more advanced training. How many people here know what a reality frame is? Raise your hands if you know what a reality frame is. If you don't, I won't even talk about it. Okay, don't worry about it. We'll cover it next time. So, that's an open loop from hell, isn't it? Right. A reality frame is basically the meaning of an interaction from your perspective. Are you the prize or the dominant in the relationship? Are you the subordinate, or are you an equal? And depending on what perspective you take within that interaction, your perception of it will change. And the meanings and behaviors that people take on will change as your frame changes. Your position in the frame changes. Okay, I teach a whole class on kinesthetic, body language-driven frame control. Controlling other people's frames and interactions through changing your body language. Those of you who experienced the open heart trust trigger yesterday, or I talked about Rockstar, Master and Commander, those are part of it. Okay? Yeah. What's that?
What's that training called?
Starts in CPI, and then in the advanced course is Killer Influence, the big manual I showed you. Yes?
In written form?
Yes. Absolutely. Because whether they're reading it or not, it's still linguistically based. Any form of linguistic communication, this will work. Okay?
What are some complex equivalence terms you can use?
Means, is, equals, equivalent. Seth, give me a couple more. Captain Thesaurus.
Same as.
Sorry, what? Same as. Excellent. Anybody else got one or two? Identical. Perfect. See, you're starting to work now. One or two more. What? Like? Excellent. Like that one. I like.
Just as if.
Just as if. That's a little bit more complex, but yes, just as if. Perfect. So write those down. Create a couple of sentences. First, create an outcome, create a context. Actually, create a context, then create an outcome. And write some structurally correct complex equivalence languages. Now, I would like you to use, at least make one or two of them like a hypnotic suggestion to program somebody to use this stuff better. Because I have a game we're going to play in about, 3 minutes. There's a lot of people in this room. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. Okay, this should be going, you guys should be pretty quick at this, so I just want to go, who's got one that wants to read and impress me with your prestige prose? Yes, sir, go ahead.
You showed up, and that means you must enjoy this stuff.
You showing up means you must enjoy this stuff. Perfect. Just give him a big round of applause. That was exactly right. My question for you is, how? How does showing up mean you fucking enjoyed any of this crap? Right? But you see how naturally it flows, how the logic is just there, it makes perfect sense, but it doesn't? That's the neurology saying, hey, this makes sense. It must be true. And you can really push this. And it's sometimes high comedy for me because I just love watching the cognitive dissonance twist your face into weird shapes. Like, right? Yes, go ahead, Don.
Because you are here to stop smoking means that you are already successful.
Yes, because you're here to stop smoking means you're already successful. How would you like to be someone struggling with smoking? Here's that shit. Like, yeah, baby. The very fact that you're in this room willing to listen to my instruction means you're all ready to make use of it. Aren't you? Of course. Yes, sir.
Being in this class causes you to learn language patterns, which means you are rapidly becoming a much more powerful hypnotist.
Boom. Big round of applause for that, right? Just fill in the blanks. Once again, anything that follows the pattern language, the because, the means, is presupposed. Yes? Yes?
Would you use it for short-term or long-term lasting, such as skills?
Yes. You can use it any way you want.
But it would have to be maybe later.
Well, again, we're using this modularly, so this would be something you would make intrinsic to whatever protocols you're utilizing. Right? When you get really advanced, you can utilize this language to describe hypnotic processes that would normally you would have to actually have the client volitionally do, and they'll just watch it happen. Well, for example, how many people here? A lot of people you said were trained in NLP, right? Right. When you do an NLP swish pattern, how many people know what a swish pattern is? Swish pattern is when you take one picture that is the primary thing, and then you have them go whoosh, 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 and replace one. Well, if you understand how this language works, you can actually describe the process and watch the client's unconscious mind do it for them. Because in this world, the one thing you need to understand is that there is no difference functionally between a vivid description, which is what these are, and a direct command, with the exception that a direct command has the capacity to be resisted. Descriptions don't. And that ability to resist goes down dramatically when these patterns are engaged deliberately. Okay? So whether you're using this for short-term change or long-term change, it's not really relevant. They'll work either way. Does that help? Yep. Okay. Yes, sir.
So I'm wondering how important the agreement term is. Because I can imagine in a class where someone says, because you're here, you enjoy this. Well,
right.
They can reject that.
Right.
So I guess you have to start with equivalences that are very hard to disagree with.
Yes, always. Always. The way you examine your language when delivering suggestion is the first thing you ask, is there any way what I'm about to say could be resisted? Or, more importantly, is there any way what I'm describing could not match the client's internal representation? If you understand that distinction, you'll understand how to walk the line between being hypnotically descriptive and vague. And again, because what happens a lot of times is either we're too vague, and we're off in the ozone, or we're too specific, and what we describe doesn't match the person's internal pictures. So the way I do it is I always ask, when I'm creating suggestions, is there any way what I'm describing could not match what they're experiencing? And the moment I find that point, I pull back to the next level. So I might say, as you're driving through the world, imagine driving through the world, the wind flowing in your hair as you're riding in your favorite sports car. Right? What color is your sports car in your head? Red? What color is your sports car? What color is your sports car? Silver. What kind of sports car? Porsche. What kind of sports car?
Yeah, Snyder.
What kind of car?
It's old Hondas with the windshield one.
Excellent. Contrast that with, as you imagine yourself moving through the world, the wind whipping in your hair and your cherry red Mustang Cobra GT. Feel the difference? That's the difference between being hypnotically vague and descriptive and being too specific, which is where all of us who are using Ericksonian-based languaging tend to screw this up. We project our own internal picture into our language, and we give it to the client, which doesn't match what's going on, and now you've got a disagreement frame. They have to back up their picture, change it, and move forward, if they bother to do that at all. If you're like Seth, they'll just come out of trance and say, no, that's not right. Anybody ever have that? Go to a training, you start describing it, they're like, no. That's what happened, right? When in doubt, pace it out. The one thing people can't disagree with is a pace. So if you find yourself mismatching, just back up, start pacing, and come back again. Right? Okay, here's the, oh shit. I have got 20 minutes left. We have I'll give you guys a choice. And I know what you're going to say, because I've taught this class a gazillion fucking times. But I teach it different every time. If anybody's been to this particular breakout, every year I teach it a little different. You guys notice that?
Yes.
Yeah? Right? Because I learn from you. I learn how you guys learn best. And I'm always adding, I never stop. My students keep coming back year after year after year because I never fucking stop. I'm always exploring. I've got 5 or 6 years worth of material that I'm researching right now that will eventually make it into your training funnel. Okay? Face reading stuff we're doing tomorrow is absolutely cutting edge. The holographic memory stuff that I debuted a little bit during the pre-conference, game changers, complete game changers. But it's just there's a process of, I don't put out anything that doesn't have a high percentage return and ease of use. So you can always take this stuff to the bank because I've used it. I didn't create this. I got to be honest with you. I didn't create this shit for you. I didn't. I created this shit for me, right? I had stuff I wanted, and the technologies I've been teaching had limitations, and I wanted those limitations gone for me to have, for me. Turns out other people had some of the same issues too, and if this can help you, then I'm doing my job. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to reach more people, because you're my message to the world. You're the people who are going to spread this and take it forward and change everything, starting with you. So, that being said, I'm going to give you a choice now. We can learn one more language pattern, which I really like, or we can play one of my favorite hypno games. How many people want the language pattern? Motherfuckers. How many people want the game? Fine.
Is that what you knew he would shoot?
Yes. Because if you give a hypnotist the choice between actually doing something or sitting in a chair and taking notes, they'll do that. Learning is fun, but training is what cooks the rice. I tell my students, and I consider you all my students to some degree, the degree to which you would become a deeper student is really up to you. Right? I have all different ways that people can enter my training processes. What I do tell people is that before you decide to buy whatever's in my catalogs or sign up for whatever courses appeal to you, come and talk to me first. Because I have a huge library and a sequences of trainings. And not every training funnel is right for everybody. Right? If you're not one of those special kind of stupid people who wants to move through the world fixing other people's shit, the last thing you want to go to is real-world hypnosis. Okay? Even though the idea behind real-world hypnosis is hypnosis anytime, anywhere, for any reason, and get the result no matter what, there are a lot of people who are highly not motivated to help other people. They just want to fix their own life. They want to be more effective in their business. They want to be more effective selling or meeting women or men. Or a lot of women come through my classes for that application, so don't think it's just men doing that shit, okay? And every training funnel is different. Now, most people eventually go full circuit. If you want to do energy and vibrational stuff, we have those training funnels too, but you can't get into those classes until you've passed my prerequisites. Right? Which is always the really super duper practical stuff, because everything is progressive and foundational. Does that make sense? So I'm pretty accessible, either directly or through emails or whatever. So talk to me. I'll tell you what to take. Right? The next pattern that we're going to do was actually when I first learned this stuff from Kenrick during his Max Persuasion. This was the first pattern he taught, and I fell in love with it. And for years, I always led off with it, till I started really paying attention to what was, where the hierarchy started to emerge. This is up there. It's in the top 4. Okay? And of the 31 to 41 different language patterns, these are the top tier ones. Okay? In my world, an advanced technique means it's easy to apply, gets the greatest result with the least amount of input. That's how I judge an advanced technique. Other people have different criteria for an advanced technique. How much skill do you need to actually apply it, and in what context? That's kind of where they go. That's what makes it an advanced technique, because you have to have super skills to make it work. Well, fuck that. I want but simple stuff that always works. Isn't that why we're here? I'm not going to suggest you change your criteria for what's advanced, but it might make your life more easy. All right, this next language pattern, and if you don't believe me about how powerful this is, go home and read your shampoo bottle. Adverb, adjective, presuppositions. Words in this category, easily, naturally, automatically, simply, logically, intuitively, unlimited. As you easily begin to naturally understand how all these language patterns combine, you'll automatically begin to simply recognize the immense power that appears when you begin to quickly utilize them both logically and intuitively to direct people's thoughts in a way that taps into the unlimited potential of their neurology and gives you an unfettered access to that unlimited potential. Simply, logically, and intuitively, you'll find yourself using it because you've been using this all your life. And because you've been using this all your life, it means you already know how to do it. Naturally. Get it? Come out of trance. We use these all the time. This is the foundation of good, compelling writing. However, the way most of us are taught to use it is grammatically or hypnotically not optimized. In traditional English, as I was taught it at least, it may have changed. God knows we're changing everything else in our school systems, right? We're taught to put the descriptor, so this is something, let's say the car was blue. This is structurally how we're supposed to write. Plop, plop. Okay? The descriptor is behind the thing it describes. Okay? Now, I'm gonna do something in a minute. You got 10 minutes, okay. We're going to do something in a minute to demonstrate what's actually going on here, but I want to give you the theory first, because like I said, we have 10 minutes, so I got to... Tina, do we have the cards ready for people to hand out? Yes? Where's Tina? Did we lose her? Oh, there she is. Okay. I have one final gift for all of you tonight for coming out and sitting and listening to my meanderings. Most of you, how many of you have ever heard of my NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program? Raise your hands if you've heard of it. If you haven't, let me explain it to you. The NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program was something that was started at the request of my meetup members back in 2010. I have the largest NLP meetup, second largest NLP meetup in the world, and I have the highest rated, most well-attended meetup. We meet twice a month in San Diego. We have since 2010. Actually, since before 2010. But a few months into running the mastermind, which was anybody can come in. It didn't matter if you have 20 years of hypnosis experience or 20 minutes. And we started off with very specific hypnosis-related topics, and then we started to realize that there were certain areas of life that people wanted to get handled, and they just didn't care how they handled it. They just wanted the tools to do it. So we changed what we did to topics, which exploded the meetup even more. But during those first couple of years of meetup, people kept coming up to me and they kept saying, David, how can I get certified by you? Where can I get more training? And I said, you can't, because I wouldn't certify people. I taught hypnosis and NLP for free for 10 years. Before I moved to San Diego, well, between living in LA and moving to San Diego. How many here have ever heard of the LA Sleepwalkers? I was the international president of the Sleepwalkers International. We were the world's largest free NLP hypnosis practice groups in the world. We have chapters in 13 states and 5 countries. Okay? And because of that, we had every hypnosis and NLP organization in the world trying to recruit students. We were like Sweden. We didn't care about organizations. We didn't care about who your trainer was, if you had any training at all. All we cared about was that you had a sincere desire to do the drills and learn the skills. Now, I was the president of that group, but I had 3 very, very, very good friends and colleagues who I met through the Sleepwalkers at the very first meeting we ever did. You may know some of them. His name was Scott Sandlin, Richard Clark, Richard Rumble. They took an idea that started in LA in 2002 and built this. Please give them a massive round of applause. Be sure to thank them, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. I'm here because of them, quite frankly, which is why when I'm here, I'm giving you everything I can. Because I know that's how we get things done. The more you give properly, the more you'll get. It's purely selfish why I'm up here. Okay? But because of that time, I saw hypnotists and neurolinguistic programmers and students of seduction and every other form of influence you can imagine, from energy work to chakra work or whatever, and they all sucked. They couldn't, when actually, they could tell you chapter and verse of everything in their manuals. But when it came down to actually rolling up the sleeves outside of the context in which they were trained, their technique was completely gone, or minimal at best. Now, I'm not saying you suck at all, because I know a lot of you are really well trained, and you really take what you do seriously. But we as a community need to raise our standards for ourselves. Because what has happened is our knowledge base has been commoditized. In many cases, we are no longer buying a skill set, we're buying a certificate. I tell all of my students, and this is something you may want to adopt or not. It may not make me popular, and I'm okay with that. You know, half the NLP world hates me already. I'm still working on the other half, right? You will always pay twice for everything you get from me. You will always pay twice. First payment's the easy one. That's the money. Whatever it is, $5, $50, $1,500, it doesn't matter. That's the easy payment, because you can always get more money. It's the second payment that's the hard one. That's the one most people refuse to make. And that's the time, the energy, the effort to take these skills and make them yours. The first payment gives you access to the information. The second payment gives you ownership of the information. And that's something that no one can take away from you. And it doesn't matter how many certificates you got on your wall or how many books are in your library. Where you go, it goes. And it's always yours. Adverb, adjective, presupposition. Put the descriptors before the thing it describes. Put the descriptors before the thing it describes. I left a big open loop. I'll try to close it before we leave. Okay? So if I say remember when I was talking to these gentlemen about their favorite sports car? Okay? Notice when I got to the point of what color was your sports car. Each of them had something different. When you use this properly, when you use this properly, it forces the subject's internal pictures to be exactly what you describe. But they make it up inside so they don't resist it. Okay? I'm going to give you a very bad example, so you understand the process. The camel that was green, with 3 legs, limped backwards up the hill and exploded. Now, quick question. When I said camel, the moment I said camel, what color was your camel? Brown. How many legs? 4. Oh, shit. What color was your camel? Tan. Tan? What color was your camel? Beige. What color was your camel? How many legs did it have? 3. Fucker. What happened when I said that was green? You had to stop, back up your freaking picture, drop a leg off, and move forward again. Every time I did that, you were doing this. And then eventually you keep doing that enough, people say, oh, fuck this, I ain't doing that. And you escape into trance. But it's the wrong kind of trance. Right? In order for things to go into your unconscious mind that you can recall them, there has to be an attention conduit. There has to be an awareness conduit. When you utilize these patterns properly, you keep their attention. If you bore them into trance, the shit goes in, but it doesn't come back out. Get it? There has to be a recall pathway for the information, and that is facilitated by your line of conscious attention. So we have to, and that's why, one of my big problems with the way NLP is taught is I'm going to teach your unconscious. Well, great, you're teaching my unconscious, but I don't consciously know what the fuck you're teaching me, so how do I know if I'm using it? How do I know I wasn't just getting lucky? There needs to be a conscious recall pathway. I'm not saying unconscious learning doesn't work. God knows it does. But how do you know how do you turn it on and off? How do you parse what you learned? How can you explain what you do? The definition of intuitive is you can't fucking explain what you're doing. Right? Not good enough in my world. I need you to understand what you're doing and have the unconscious processes in place at your beck and call. I want you to have the on and off switch that you can consciously flip when you need to, and the ability to just unconsciously go into it whenever the situation calls for it. Does that make sense? Okay, so when you do this, I'm going to give you another sentence. Notice how easily your mind does or does not make the description that comes out. The black-robed, staff-carrying magician majestically walked down the hall. Even if I do it slow, the black-robed, staff-carrying magician majestically walked down the hall. I don't need any more description than that. You're going to fill in all the blanks. What I just showed you, with the camel example, is what your brain is doing all the time. How many people remember yesterday when I was talking about the lossy zip file? That when the words coming out of our mouth are like this data-excluded, little tiny picture of a much higher resolution image. When my zip file hits your computer, your brain tries to put back the missing pixels. But it does it using your own experiences. It does it using your own metaphors, your own memories and processing systems. So what you get is a facsimile of what you believe I said, not what I did. The example I just gave you with the camel is exactly what's happening in literally faster than nanoseconds all the time with everything. Thank you. Okay? Words in this category: easily, naturally, automatically, simply, logically, unlimited. Naturally, as I begin to bring this session to a close, you'll automatically realize that from among all the many things I could have taught you, we had time for this. In the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, which meets on the third Saturday of every month in San Diego, it's been running continuously live since 2010. We have videotaped each and every single training session. It's application driven, which means it's not my curriculum, it's your things that you want to learn. Each Saturday, I go around the room. I say, what do you want to learn? What do you want to learn? What do you want to learn? I write them all up on the board. I look at what you guys have given me. I find all the connecting threads. I generate the lesson plan right on the spot. And for the next 4 hours, I drill you on those skills until you can do them in your sleep. And then I send you out into the world to get your outcomes. And if you want to, you come back next month, third Saturday, and we do it all over again with new shit. But you decide what shit we cover. I have been doing that with people. It is not a certification track. It's a skill building track. I have been doing that nonstop with my local participants in San Diego since 2010. We have videotaped every single training session and archived them on the NLP Power website. As you walk out, Tina is going to hand you a card. There's a web address on there. If you go to that website, in addition to the handouts I have for you from this training and the other trainings, you will get we have archived every single one of those 7 years of video on the NLP Power website. You will get free, unfettered access to the entire 7 years of video for free. 30 days. Binge watch to your heart's content. At the end of 30 days, just click the unsubscribe button or let us know, and you're done. If you want to continue to binge, I'm still running the Mastermind. We're not going anywhere. We're still adding content. Sorry, what? Oh, the drawing? Okay. Oh, we also have to give away shit, don't we? All right? So, Tina will have a... Yes?
Yeah, split it in half, pick a half.
Split it in half, pick a half.
Because otherwise they're different sizes.
You guys ready? Yeah. By the way, limit 1 per person. I have to say that shit. Evan Fain.
Yes. Only took 5 classes to get it.
We won't see him fucking again, right? Congratulations, brother. There you go. You just email me with what... Oh, I need your thing. Just email me with the techniques and trainings you want to attend. All right. If you had a good time, please tell everyone. We've got one more training tomorrow. This has my list. Thank you so much. Come on, see us again. You're very welcome, sir. For me?
Yes, you and or somebody else. It's